Thank you, and thank you, Michael. This really was his idea, and it moved quickly from idea to this terrific panel we've all been looking forward to, and we hope it's of some value to you. I think you're going to hear this theme over and over. I certainly, like Michael, can remember my first meeting and feeling lost, and everybody seemed to have friends and know where to go, and I didn't know what these things were, and they threw out these terms, and what's the difference between a section and a committee? We hope we can give you some useful answers to all of that. One way to think about it is this is the new AALS meeting. And one of the things, as Michael's suggestion indicates, is it's really in your hands too. It belongs to all of us. So if you have ideas and suggestions, especially your experience this first time, we really want to hear about it after the meeting to make it better for those who come after. You should have gotten an organization chart. We never had one before, but we tried on a piece of paper. This is Bradley's good suggestion to at least give you some sense of how the different pieces fit together. The main thing I'd mention is the sections, and as we say, there's 100 of them. So there's a section on contracts law, there's a section on intellectual property law, et cetera, et cetera. And virtually every section gets together and puts together a panel that you have the opportunity to attend at this meeting. So think about your areas of particular interest. It may be something you're teaching, it may be an area in which you write, it could be both, and sign up for that section, because that's the best way to connect with the AALS. Kellye Cairns is sitting in the back. If you'll stand up so people can see you. You can do it online, but it's sometimes a little tricky. So if you just, before you leave today, give Kellye your name and your sections, she'll be your personal connect to our system to make sure you're registered and are part of the section, or it could be more than one, the 2 or 3 sections of most interest to you. You are the future of legal education. We're delighted to see you here, and we know you're the future, therefore, of the AALS. So I am delighted now to turn things over to Brad Earhart, who is, as mentioned, the chair this year of the section for new law professors and has also helped make this happen. Brad?
Okay, hi. So I wanted to share some very, very brief remarks about my experience with AALS. I'm no expert, but I offer the junior perspective. 5 years ago, I attended AALS for the first time. This is my 5th year in a row to attend, and I've gotten a lot out of it. I think AALS is tremendous, if for no other reason that it offers the opportunity to see so many law professors year after year, and so there's great continuity sort of in networking. 5 years ago, the advice I got and what I did was someone said just what Judy said, which was to look at the areas, the sections that had most natural appeal to me, either by area of scholarship or area that I taught in, and to just get involved. So broadly conceived, there are 100 sections. Some are identity-based, so some are centered around women or minorities or sexual minorities, etc. But many of them are also based around different doctrinal or process-based areas. And so it could be something you teach in, or it could be something you write in, contracts, torts, evidence, and employment discrimination, etc. And in many of the sections, at that point, I identified the 4 sections that interested me most, and I just went to those sessions, and then I went to the business meetings that followed afterwards. I think that attending business meetings is the best way, the best introductory way to get a lot out of AALS. The first 2 years that I attended, I became officers in 2 different sections, the new law professor section and the employment discrimination section. There are, as an aside, usually 3 or 4 officer positions. There's almost always a secretary, chair-elect, and chair. There are sometimes also a treasurer, and generally someone someone who volunteers or gets voted on to become the new treasurer will then progress sort of lockstep through each of those positions, culminating in being chair of the section. So if you become an officer in one, you're committing to be really involved in that section for 4 years. I think being an officer in a section provides amazing opportunities to interact with a lot of different people in your areas of interest. When you're secretary, it means you'll likely have the opportunity to work on a newsletter, which is really giving back to your community. It's value added. And eventually, when you're chair, you'll have opportunity to organize programming. And that's really immensely fulfilling, because usually there's a lot of latitude to organize a panel around an area that is of special interest to you, and then invite people that are that maybe you look up to, you really respect in that area. And so this year, I'm chair of new law professors, and I always wanted to do a panel about becoming a legal scholar. And I got to think about some of the senior scholars I most respected and invite them to be a part of it. And so that's part of the payoff you get when you get involved with the AALS section, in addition to meeting a lot of new people and deepening relationships you already have. And attending the business meetings that follow these sections is really one of the keys. I mean, getting involved in most of these sections is as simple as attending, going up to the business meeting afterwards, and then raising your hand when they ask if anyone wants to be on the executive committee or someone wants to be an officer in that section. Even if you're not an officer right away in a section, it might take a few years for the opportunity to present itself, depending on how officers are selected. There are frequently opportunities to be on an executive committee for that section. And executive committees often have input about the programming from year to year, as well as look at papers that are submitted for calls for papers, and have other input on the programming from year to year. And doing that, being an executive committee member is really low on requirements and easy for networking. And of course, the most rudimentary sort of fundamental way to get involved is just to sign up for these sections, to sign up for the listservs associated with these sections, and just begin getting the correspondence that takes place within these sort of affinity groups, if you will, that are organized again around areas of research or areas of teaching. If you can't attend the business meeting, as probably happens for all people at some times, either because of a conflict or something else that you have to be at, there's a very easy fallback. You can always just email the chair and say, hey, I can't attend the business meeting, but I'd really like to be involved. And then you can say in what way you'd like to be involved, or suggest a way, I suppose. And the chair will be thrilled to get that email. No chair will be like, well, I'll just let that email fall by the wayside. So there's a very easy fallback, even if you can't be physically present. So there's a lot that AALS is a really big section. There's a lot that I still don't know. There's still lots. I still wander around a lot and think, man, there's a lot of people here I don't know. But I think that the low-hanging fruit of AALS for new people is to simply identify sections that you're interested in and go get involved in those.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Blake Morant, and when I was introduced so warmly by Michael, he said I was smiling broadly because my presidency ends on January 9th at 12:32 p.m. But that's not why I'm smiling. I am smiling because I see all of your faces here. The people, as Judy said, you are the future of the Legal Academy. You are the future of the Association of American Law Schools. And as I sit down and I look out and I look at your faces, I remember when I came to my very first annual meeting in 1900, and I was this young, eager beaver law professor, and I was like, oh my God, this is so wonderful. I get to commune with all of my fellow teachers, and they're from all over the country. It is just so wonderful. And I went to this meeting, and it was so huge. But I was so excited because I said, you know, I'm a law professor, and I'm with all these other law professors, so I'm going to make the best of it. So here's one point that I really want to emphasize in this particular session, and that is, this is a superb superb venue for you to network, to meet your colleagues all over the country. Now, it does seem big, and it is kind of big, but I want to tell you, everyone here is here dedicated to seeing their national colleagues, and this truly is your opportunity to do that. Let me give you one example. So here I was, a brand new law professor, and just as you were told, I write in the areas of contracts and a little bit in administrative law, and so I decided to use a book. It was my first book in doing this, and I wanted a book that really was fairly clear. Administrative law can be, are there any administrative law teachers in the room? We gotta talk. So administrative law tends to be a very, very dense kind of subject, right? So I wanted this very interesting case book to do. So there was this case book now by Ron Levin, but the original author was Art Bonfield. And Art Bonfield was on the faculty at the University of Iowa. So here I was at my first meeting. I had chosen this book, and guess who I saw in the hallway? It was Art Bonfield. So I saw his name there, and I go, oh my God, I'm brand new, and I don't think I'm intelligent enough to talk to him and everything, but I was like this groupie who was looking at the Beatles, right? And so I said, forget it. I'm going up. I'm talking to him. So I go up to him and I said, excuse me, Professor Bonfield, but my name is Blake Morant, and I'm a brand new professor, and I know that you're very busy, and I don't know a whole lot and everything like this. And I said, but I'm teaching administrative law, and I selected your book. He lit up like a Christmas tree. You're using my book. How big is your class? I said, oh, it's a large section. Oh, let's sit down and talk, Professor Morant. And I will tell you, that was one of the first experiences that I had, and it warmed me up. At that point, I'm going around the hall saying, ooh, I use a contracts book by this person. I walk in, I use your book. Oh, you do? How big is your class? Yeah. But I say this a little bit in jest, but I wanted to impress upon you how good this is for networking. And don't be intimidated going up to anyone at this meeting. I think one of the things as a new person, you sometimes think, oh my God, I'm so brand new, I don't have much to, can I talk to this person, can I do this? They're all there willing to talk to you. Quite frankly, as I was talking to some of these bigwigs, it was sort of like, I'm not that intimidated anymore. I've got the way to do this. I'll just tell every single one of them, I'm using your book. But oftentimes, even with people whose scholarship I've cited or whatever, I'll go up to them and say, I've cited your scholarship. Would you mind if I chat with you a little bit? They will take you aside and do that. So one of the teaching points, please, by all means, use this as networking. One of the things that we've done with the annual meeting that hasn't been done in the past is that we're making networking that much easier. If you go through all the places where we have here in the hotel, you will see that there are nice seating areas and everything. That is there in order to make that happen for you. Let me say a couple of things, and I'm going to pass the baton over to my worthy successor. One of the things that was mentioned earlier, I think Bradley mentioned this, was the idea of joining sections. Please think about that. Join sections. Get involved with this. And this is why it's helpful to you. If you get involved in a section, it will energize you. It will give you thoughts about how to teach better. It will actually energize your thinking about your scholarship as well. And again, there's so much synergy that comes through that. I jokingly talk about talking with the bigwigs in terms of you're really sort of getting in with them and what they do. It helps them to talk to you because you bring a fresh perspective to that. So don't let that be intimidating with you. I'll also go up there and see them. We are here, I'm president of the association. There are members of the executive committee, and as you see on that flow chart, the executive committee is a committee who really goes about the business of the association. We had our meeting all day today. Every member of the executive committee is here. They will be here throughout the meeting. Please feel free to go up to any of them to talk about this organization, what you can do, and how you can network. Let me mention this as I sit down. One of the things we've also done at the meeting is, and I've said this before, this is my, well, you don't have to know which number meeting it is. It's one of my double-digit annual meetings. And so one of the things that we have tried to do is that in addition to making this better for networking, you'll see a lot of the sections are really very informative, both in terms of scholarship and in terms of teaching. But the other thing we've done is we're bringing in other elements of this profession. And many of you know these are challenging times in legal education, but I'm telling you something. This is an opportunistic time for us. There's never been a time where the Academy has embraced the profession of law more. And that is here at this meeting. You're going to see judges here. You're going to see members of the bar here, folks who are in law firms and all of that. They're going to be milling around as well. A great opportunity to sort of do that and get those kinds of synergies. And a part of that is that we've invited those individuals, both in terms of participants, but also in terms of presenters. So tomorrow, during one of the main sections, we're going to have Supreme Court Justice Breyer here. He's going to sit down and have a conversation about the law, the profession, and all of that. We also have Mayor Bloomberg, former mayor of New York, who will be presenting tomorrow at our gala celebration. Please don't miss this, ladies and gentlemen. Not only for Mayor Bloomberg, but you get to have a free drink with him. You know, no other association does that. So please sort of do that. So I'm going to sit down now and hand the baton over to my worthy successor, Dean Kellye Testy. But I want to say in all seriousness, it's wonderful to have you here. If you have colleagues nationally, either at your schools or nationally, who did not come to the meeting, please tell them this is a new type of situation where they should come. You are the future. This association is for you. Your careers will be enriched for it. Now it's my pleasure to hand the baton over to Kellye Testy.
Thank you so much, Blake. I thought one thing that might be helpful as I start my remarks is that in addition to me and Blake, who are here from the executive committee, there's a few other of our members here. I want them just to stand so you know who they are, so they're people you can reach out to if you have questions or anything. I see Wendy Perdue, who's here. Paul Marcus is here. And I came in with Alicia, is she? Yeah, Alicia Alvarez is here. And anybody I can't spot from here that's okay. Well, you can look at, on some of the materials, it'll list the others who are now serving on the committee. But please do know that we're all very sincere in saying that we're here to help you make this a meeting that really is meaningful to you and that you enjoy. And I think there are so many ways to do that. There are many ways to enjoy this meeting. Some of my colleagues, maybe Judy won't want to hear this, but there have been years when I've come, and I don't know if I've gone to maybe more than one session, but I have stationed myself in a lobby and talked to all the people I've met over the years and gotten to know and had other meetings with. And so what I want to say by that is just that one part of this meeting that's so wonderful is that there are indeed so many programs that are interesting, and you can barely begin to scratch the surface. And so, just start somewhere with what, seems to most interest you. But the other part of the meeting that's, I think, so lovely is just that you get to know so many people. And believe me, it will build. I know when everybody's talking about their first meeting, I remember mine. I, at the time, was barely 1 year out of law school myself, and I was working for a law school that no longer exists because it at one point got bought by another law school. I knew no one, and over the years, you just get to know people from outside your school, and it's a time to really reconnect, sometimes with people that you only see here. And those friendships and those associations really deepen. I can think now about a group that when I first started teaching, there weren't very many women teaching corporate law. And so 4 or 5 of us got together here and formed a little mini group that then always went to the corporate law things together and tried to get a woman or two on the panel once in a while and do things like that. We've remained very close friends over the years, and that's now going on 20 years, I think, Blake. So there's just so many ways that you can enjoy this meeting. And I also want to say that, now that I'm a law school dean, one of the things I think a lot about as I encourage my faculty all the time to come to things like receptions is that the ability to be comfortable in a big crowd is not necessarily one of those traits that we screen law professors for. It kind of comes easily to me for whatever reason, and I had to learn to do it as a dean. But what I want to make sure you understand is that whether someone's been doing this for 1 year or 5 or 10 or 20 or 30, they're probably as uncomfortable as you might feel about just getting to know new people too. And so please do feel a great comfort in knowing that all of us want to meet our new colleagues in the Academy. You are the ones who have fresh ideas about sections that we haven't even thought of that we might need to have. you have fresh ideas about the areas of law that you work in. And I know that I speak for just so many in saying, please let us know if there's any way that we can be helpful in connecting you to a group or to a person that you think might be useful or enjoyable for you to know, in the academy. That's what we're here for. I also want to say in closing that we want to leave time today to just talk a little bit, and I think we'll open it up for some questions. But do enjoy this. You may hear a few references to the new AALS, and some of you won't even know what the old AALS was, which is actually quite comforting to me. And let me just say, by way of that we are trying very hard as an executive committee, and also with the inspired leadership of Judy Areen, who's just a terrific leader for AALS, to be much more responsive to what our member schools need, and to be a much more forceful advocate for law and for legal education, and to be that voice that reminds the world about the good work we do as professors, as lawyers, day in, day out, and how important the rule of law is to society. So thank you for what you do. Thank you for joining the Academy, and we look forward to getting to know you.
So this will be the only ALS event that you probably attend where people aren't handing each other cards, people aren't going on too long. We've got plenty of time, which is great. That's the way we designed it. We want to have time to break out and discuss. But let's pause first for a few questions to the extent there are any. That would be a great way to get the discussion going. The only comment I wanted to add is, in addition, and this was kind of, people alluded to this, I think one of the wonderful things about this meeting is it serves as an opportunity for you who are new people to our profession to learn about our profession, right? The art and practice of law teaching. Some of that happens in meetings, but boy, a lot of it happens out in the hallways, right? When you're just talking to people, because we all face the same issues kind of regardless of the school that you're at. So it really creates a nice opportunity to have discussions with people. What's your teaching load? What's my teaching load? Have you had this come up in class? How many articles do you have to write? How long should articles be? All of these questions you really are able to communicate with a lot of people about. So let's open it up for questions, really about anything, and you can direct them to a particular panelist, or I can shoot them in the right direction. Yes?
Right there.
I believe there
Right
is,
there.
yeah.
Right there.
I hate to be the first speaker or the one to ask a question. My name is Mohammed Matar. I am a clinical professor of law and a director of the law clinic at Qatar University College of Law. It took us 14 hours to come here. With me is the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs, Professor Yasser Khulaila, who is also a professor of international law and international environmental law. With me also is Professor Islam Shiha, who is a professor of administrative law and constitutional law. We're very excited to be here for several reasons. Number one, in 2016, we are going to have our annual conference on sports law. And I see a session in sports law, and I'm so excited, especially that I never really exercise too much. Yeah, and then also I see another session on clinical legal education. We're happy to report to you that we are establishing the first law clinic at Qatar University College of Law. Having said that, I'm going to ask a question to prepare for 2017, because I love San Francisco, and my question to all of you, my question is very simple. How can we get involved in advance? Not the day the conference is being held, but 1 year in advance. I am thinking about a panel, I'm thinking about a session, I'm thinking about a program, perhaps on international education, and I see also a session on international education. How can we do that now, this week, when we have the new president, and of course we're saying goodbye to the old one? Thank you.
Thank
Kellye,
you
it's
for your
I think.
question.
I think it's for Kellye.
Yeah, Kellye.
It's a great question, and I think there's a number of ways we can proceed. And let me say that as a general matter, one of the priorities that we've been working on is connecting with our partners around the globe and learning from one another comparatively about the project of legal education. So let's, you and me, let us talk. I think there's a number of places where we could connect you early as programs start to get planned for 2017, and we can make sure that, that we're working on that now and preparing for all that fun in San Francisco together.
Other questions? I'm not going to call on people.
I thought I saw a hand. Is that a hand back? May I ask them a question?
Please.
That might. Now, I just want to take a poll. How many of you are starting law teaching this year? This academic year is your first year in law teaching. First. Okay. How many of you have taught for 3 years or more? Okay. Very good. So most of the people in the room, anybody here has been in the academy more than 5 years? Right. More than 5? Oh, okay. More than 10? More than 10? More than 15? More than 20? Wow, I don't feel old anymore. But I'm glad that you've come. Now, how many of you is this your first AALS Annual Meeting? Hand. All the rest. Okay, so very good, very good. So for those of you who taught for a while, and this is your first meeting, can you tell me what made you decide to come this year? Now I saw some hands. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I think the thing that I saw in the programming this year was the arc of the career track.
Okay.
And I think it had gotten far enough along that the panic and anxiety of simply having the new job and figuring everything out has subsided. And now it's looking forward and thinking, wow, maybe tenure might happen. So maybe I should be thinking about a 20-25-year kind of, how do I do that? So
Yeah.
was that offering this year?
Thank you so much for that, because that is a new innovation. It fits in with what Kellye was saying, this idea that we're constantly trying to make this association and the meeting much more relevant to a wider swath of our constituency. So that is very helpful feedback. Anybody else want to share, if you've been teaching for a while? Yes, ma'am.
So I've been teaching 11 years. I started out in legal writing, and this is really the first year that I was looking at the program that I really felt a part of the academy. So I thought, we're going to give it a try.
Okay, what made you feel a part of it? What was in the
I
program?
guess because I've been here, I've been teaching enough that I never thought that I needed to come to this.
Okay.
Because I have my LWI, which I learned so much from. And
Interesting.
so it didn't seem like we had much programming as far as teaching and pedagogy. But when I looked at the brochure, it did seem like there was a track at least for growth.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you so much. Anybody else want to share? And for the brand new people, let me see the hands of the people. This is your first year in law teaching. Brand new people. Okay, very good. Of all of you, could someone tell me what made you decide to come? Did your institution encourage you? What made you decide to come to the annual meeting? Yes, ma'am.
Well, I went to the New Teachers, the AALS New Teachers Conference, and you guys spent 3 days telling us to come here. I love the marketing.
That was excellent advice, by the way.
Yeah. It seemed like a good idea. So.
Good. Well, you'll find it's worth your while. Anybody else your first time?
I think we'll break down into small
We're
sections.
gonna
We'll
do
stay
that?
around and
Okay,
do it.
good.
But
Are we going to do that?
yeah,
Okay, very good.
I'll say one more word.
Okay.
All right. So one of the things we know is that our fees are high. We were delighted to be able to give a 50% discount to those new to teaching, and we're going to keep that up, and we hope that has enabled more people to come. The other thing we're doing, and you'll see signs around, is enlisting more sponsors for the meeting, something other associations do. And the reason for that is to keep the fee down. So I want to do a shout out to Boston University, who sponsored this event and are helping to keep our fees down. Thank you. And it's a great law school, so you should look at their information. I think rather than staying in the large group, we're going to go down to small, and we'll do that because Blake and Kellye and all of our panel have indicated they will stay. We'll be down here. Come talk to us individually. And again, thank you for coming. Feel welcome. You're our future. Thank you.